There we go. How's it going? It's Man Tomorrow here. I want to thank you for coming through to the show. Today we're going to discuss Jessie Lee Peterson. You have to understand that people who don't want to talk about policies are not trying to move the conversation forward or either the environment forward at all. You have these people. You have the actual people on the left and the right who actually do this. The actual ones on the right side of the spectrum, their actual cultural warriorness is kind of based on denying racism, pretending like they don't know American history, and calling themselves patriotic, more patriotic than other people when they don't even understand the basics of law inside the country. I mean, just all kinds of things. No matter what the actual topic is, it always starts off with an immediate gaslight and then dragging it back toward 10 or 15 other issues that the actual conversation is not even based on. So today we're going to go over the actual video again for David Pakman. And then we're going to go off for the very short video that he had where he was kicked off the show on the bullpen with Dr. Rashard Ritchie. Oh, welcome to the show, Mike. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Yeah. So what do you think about this whole issue about people not trying to actually read the simplistic policies that are there rather than trying to fight this cultural narrative? Like the people on the right are doing that, while the people on the left are trying to bring the woman back to the table and economically organize, which is that is nothing but kind of nonsensical talk that productive black men and non-productive black men should come together and somehow accept the woman that they're bringing back to the table. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And you're not going to be able to go mainstream with such a concept because you cannot fight a gender war where you're not even organizing for anything.
Yeah, because the culture war is the war that you fight when you're too weak to fight the battle that needs to be fought. And so the battle that needs to be fought is policy. But if all you're going to do is fight the culture war itself, that's easy. That's like, shooting fish in a barrel because you already have a script that's written. You stand by it and you keep going from there. But once you get into a dialogue about actual fundamental policy, you say, well, I didn't read it, so I don't need to read. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that's where you're going to be left at. And we're in a different time now. Like 2016, you could have gotten away with that with political ignorance. 2021, you can't do that anymore because everybody knows social media has allowed information to be widely available. So if the White House or the House and the Senate, Congress or the Senate decides that they're going to propose something, that stuff becomes instantly available to your phone or to your device or whatever it is. So you're going to automatically see the stuff, even if you don't want to see it. If this is the position that you're going to stand from, you can't honestly say, well, I didn't read it and I don't need to read it. I just know the people who did it. That doesn't work anymore. You just get pushed out. You just get left out of the discussion altogether.
Correct. And you have to really understand that you can set up Google alerts for these things to actually come to you. So it's not like, and like C-SPAN and like, C-SPAN is not like hidden on people's networks. You don't need cable in most areas to actually reach that. I mean, it's something that's publicly paid for. So the actual idea that you need to skip over all the tangible information that can actually help you in society and life and go off and try to do all this other stuff, it's ridiculous. And you got these same people who would just sit around, not engage in the process, but have the nerve to want to ask about what is the status of reparations when they don't even know anything about the process itself and don't want to get involved until after they receive something, which is the worst incentive for somebody else to do something on your behalf. If they know that's how you think, they're never going to give you that, by the way. What's going on, Renaissance, man?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, no, to tag on the last point you mentioned that, yeah, that's what always gets me about people when they criticize the process. You can always tell they don't know what they're talking about, because they'll say, well, "What are we getting?" or "We're not getting anything." It's like they don't understand that other groups, when they uh, put people in the office, and they have an agenda with them, so they're not asking the politicians, "What are you going to do for us?" They're telling you this. They're telling the politicians, "This is what we want."
Correct. And it's like, okay, people know how sports work. They understand that you have to draft well, you have to manage your front office well, you have to manage your personnel well. Like, they're not going to give you a Super Bowl before you decide that you're going to manage these draft picks right. You have to actually manage your team as if you're going to win the Super Bowl. That's how you get there. You don't get the trophy up front and then everybody else figures it out on the back end. That's not how the process works. But they understand it when it comes to sports, but they don't understand it when it comes to simplistic things like politics. And then, like, when groups move past you and get things before you do, it's the failure of the government to give them something without investment. And they give stuff to people who are investment. And then, like, most of the complaints about the process and system is when it directly doesn't work out for them and it works out for other people. And it's like, dude, this stuff literally hasn't changed in 200 years. And you still don't know anything about the process? This is crazy.
Yeah, well, people don't want it, they don't want to put in the work to learn the initial process, because it's like you said, it hasn't changed, and then on top of that, you have people running around thinking voting every 4 years, not even every 2 years, or in every local election cycle. They think voting every 4 years, if that, they're going to see this massive change. It's like, dude, that voting is the minimum participation. Like, have you gone to a city council meeting? Have you called up your congressman? Have you gone down and tried to lobby on behalf of a piece of legislation?
But to them, that's up to other people. Why would they do that? They're only here to benefit.
Well, if I could jump in real quick, I think that not understanding the process actually benefits them, because then they can have plausible deniability.
Correct.
Right. And then, but what also happens with this is that it allows one group of people to maintain a narrative that works against the left. And so they can say, well, who cares about reading it? Who cares what's in it? I just don't like the people who are behind it. Just like the other guy on another platform said, California would be so great if we could just get rid of all the liberals. I'm like, all right. So, and what would be the outcome of that?
Yeah.
Because every other conservative state doesn't necessarily measure up to California outside of Texas itself. And so what would be the outcome of getting rid of the left outside of a state that largely has fundamentally benefited from progressive politics?
Correct. And I mean, like, there aren't like conservative examples outside of the West and Texas that can compete with like a New York or a California, especially when it comes to the level of investing in the actual place within itself and getting something out of it. Because no matter where you are, these are the type of things you're going to continuously run into. So without further ado, let's start up the first video, fair use. This is Jessie Peterson talking to David Pakman. I played it before, but you have to hear this clip before we play the second one. So that way you can see, rather than doing what David Pakman did, you actually do what the second guy did when it comes to culture warriors and people who just don't want to have a conversation about actual policy. You're going to have to just show them the door. So without further ado, what's going on, Charles Faulkner? We're just going to play this video, because everything that this guy says in his abject ignorance and not understanding the process, which he claims he's a part of, it's astonishing. So without further ado, we're going to play this video, fair use. Played it before. So this way you can know where this stuff comes from, because this stuff is not original. It's just very lazy when people use these types of things without understanding that this stuff has been around since the 70s. This guy's been around since the 70s. What's going on, DC? Justin March, thank you for the $5 super chat. But without further ado, we're going for it. And the only reason why we're showing you this video is because you have to understand ignorance is a very expensive process. It's a very deliberate process. And the only thing you have to do is learn about the issues on your side, because the people who actually talk about policy, no matter whether they're on the left or the right, they don't be around culture warriors, man. They try to not be around people who don't know how to talk because it embarrasses the hell out of them to have these people actually on their side representing anything. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play this.
Welcoming back sort of an old friend to the show, I guess, although sometimes he throws me off the show. Jessie Lee Peterson is joining us. He is host of the Jessie Lee Peterson Show. He's host of The Fallen State, which I visited the studio when I was in Los Angeles. And Jessie, are you a pastor as well? Do I recall that correctly? Are you a Christian pastor?
I am, yes.
You are. And what denomination?
Non-denominational Christian.
Okay. And I remember that your studio in LA, people may find this interesting. Is it also some kind of Christian counseling center? Do I remember that correctly, where you counsel young men?
Yeah, but not in the studio. I have my offices upstairs, and so we counsel in-house and by Skype or telephone or by phone, whichever is easy for the folks.
That's fascinating. And so now you're not like a therapist, right? You're not a social worker or a psychologist or anything like that.
No, just a counselor.
Okay, and that
Pretty much he's a game dude outside of everything else that he does. But let's go for it.
and that's in California, that's an unregulated credential, right? Anybody can use that term.
Well, you have to be a minister or a pastor or something like that, and you can do counseling under the head of your ministry.
Wow. And that insurance doesn't cover that, right?
It does.
It does. In California,
Oh, yeah.
You can go to a counselor who's just a minister and it's considered a medical visit.
100%. As a matter of fact, it's better that you come to me than the people with the degrees.
Well, that's an opinion. That's an opinion, but I'm
because
concerned
if
with the
you
legal
notice-
piece.
If you notice, and by the way, we are friends, David. Even though I had to throw you off one day, we still friends. Sometimes I throw my friends off.
Okay. Fair.
But it's better that you come to me than a person with a degree, because if you notice, the educated people are dumb. They have no sense.
I've not noticed.
What?
Where have you heard that talking point before?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar to me.
Yeah. Doesn't it sound familiar? So if you needed an oncologist for a cancer diagnosis, and because of course medical stuff is actually regulated, but let's just say it wasn't regulated, and you have the option to go to somebody who's not trained but is hell-bent on doing that type of stuff anyway, unlicensed, who are you more likely to go to, Mike? Somebody who's licensed, bonded, and insured, and trained in that field, or somebody who isn't?
Sounds like a shade tree mechanic. I'd rather go with the licensed guy. I mean, I guess what he's doing is benign, but at the same time, I don't want you counting my change, man. If your draw keeps coming up short every single time as a cat.
Yeah, no doubt. Ransom,
No, I agree, Mike. No, yeah, I'm definitely unless you want to try to get it out the mud.
Oh man, get your cancer out the mud. Wow. All right, so let's keep going.
It's not. I've not noticed that.
And they end up giving the people just before the people run out of money, they give them medication because the therapists, the trained therapists and counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists have no common sense.
Well, but a lot of the people you just mentioned,
real
a lot of the
issues.
people you just mentioned can't even prescribe medication. So psychologists don't prescribe, neither do social workers. So what you're saying, you know, it's not true, right?
Well, what I'm saying is that people with degrees are dummies. They have no common sense. They're just repeated what someone told them.
I gotcha. All right. Now I understand, because the first thing you said is literally impossible because they can't prescribe. But
Well, I'm
listen,
glad
Jesse,
to hear that.
You're glad to hear that. Good. And you can't prescribe. You're not prescribing anything, I'm guessing.
No.
No. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So listen, Jesse, we're on the precipice here of an election. And the reason I wanted to talk to you is to figure out on, because you're such a master of policy, economics and trade and all of these things. I wanted to figure out where you are on Trump and policy. So just to begin with, I mean, you approve of the job the president is doing, right?
He's done an amazing job thus far, in spite of the children of the lie.
Yeah.
And the children of the lie, the liberal media, the Democratic Party, the never-Trumpers, the right-o Republicans, the black race hustlers, and the radical homosexuals. They have been against him, and our enemies overseas as well. But in spite of that, he's done an amazing job. So 4 more years of the great white hope.
Yeah. And when you talk about the job that Trump has done, just to pick something to really dig into and make this, I want to take the interview seriously, and, hopefully it won't devolve the way some of the prior interviews have. But let's take economics and taxation, for example. Do you like the Trump tax plan? And if so, what do you like about it?
Well, that's why I like the fact that he has cut back on taxes. He's giving more money to the workers rather than taking it. I like the fact that he has made it easier for small businesses to get going. Even though we have a Chinese virus situation right now, so the economy has stopped a little bit, but it's starting to come back. And due to the tax cuts and regulations,
but let's pick something. Let's pick one thing. What has Trump done to make it easier for businesses to get going?
By cutting back on so many rules and regulations that the Democrat had established.
Like what's an example of such a rule?
I don't have anything in mind right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of the rules and regulations that was preventing small businesses from starting have been taken away by the Great White Hope.
What would be, give me I know that there's dozens and dozens, but what's one such rule that was taken away that now makes it easier to start a business?
Nothing comes to mind right now.
Is there anything that you can remember even seeing at any time?
Nothing comes to mind at
Nothing.
This time.
Wow.
No.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's stick with economics just for a moment. What do you think the top marginal tax rate should be for top earners?
Good question, man. I don't know. I haven't thought about it at this point.
Is it too high or too low currently?
So what now?
I'm sorry?
What did you say? Your phone went off for a minute. What did you say?
I said, do you think the current top marginal tax rate is too high or too low?
I'm not sure at this time, David.
You're not sure. So how do you know that Trump's tax plan is good if you don't even know what tax rates are and how he changed them?
Well, because I have not been focusing on that lately. I have more important things to think about and do. That has not been one of my primary focus at this point.
All right. Well, let's take a different topic then. Donald Trump made a huge deal during the campaign in 2016 and now about trade with China, trade with Mexico and Canada. Do you believe that Donald Trump has fulfilled his campaign promises on trade, or do you believe he has fallen short?
He has not fallen short, but he has not completed them at this time. That's why we have to, one of the reasons, but not the only, that we have to do 4 more years so he can finalize the trade deals that he is working on.
What would you like to see him do on trade that he's not yet done?
To make sure that America is being treated fairly in trade deals, and that we're not giving away or being used as we have been in the past in those ways.
Interesting. So Donald Trump yesterday at his rally said that he fixed China, that now China has to treat us fairly because he fixed it. And he says that he fixed Canada and Mexico with USMCA, so they're now treating us fairly. So who's left that's not treating us fairly on trade?
Did he mention that yesterday? I didn't hear that at all.
It was either yesterday or, the rallies are blending together. Maybe it was the day before.
Did he say who was left that he had to deal with?
No, I'm asking you. Who do you think is still treating us unfairly?
You need to call the White House spokesperson, and they can answer those questions for you. I have no idea.
Well, but I guess what I'm trying to understand, Jesse, is...
Mike, when talking about policy, and you're on the side where you agree with something, do you think it's very appropriate for a person to say, I don't know, why don't you call the White House?
I find this interesting. this isn't the first time we've heard a person not reading about a policy that they supported. And so I'm kind of curious to know what would be the driving factor for supporting something that you haven't read. And so when he's asking him about whether or not, you know, with the percentages, is it good or is bad? He's like, I don't know. You call the White House. Like, I don't know if I want you campaigning for me.
Renaissance man.
Aegon said, how can you be unprepared, unprepared, and this is how you earn your living? I just point out Jesse's living is not to talk about policy. His living is to troll and culture war, and that's why he makes comments like you said of he's not sure what the top marginal tax rate is, and he doesn't know if it's too high or too low. He's not really here to talk about policy. He's here really to troll black people, and there are plenty of people who will pay him to do it.
Correct. So let's keep going forward here. Wow, it's
But Matt, so you're asking me the wrong questions.
Right, but so you asserted that you like a lot of what Trump accomplished on trade,
right,
but believe that. But hold on, Jesse. Hold on, Jesse. No, hold on, Jesse. Hold on.
You're asking about, David. You have to call the White House.
You're going to have plenty of time to answer. Let me just get the question out. You asserted that you like some of what he did on trade, but you want to see him do more. I'm saying, what more should he do?
I have no idea, David.
You don't know.
He knows, so you should call them and ask them. You're asking me the wrong questions.
Oh, that's interesting, because it sounds like you don't really know what's going on.
Not just totally, no.
No,
not
okay.
in that area. I'm not concerned about that either.
Well, but you mentioned it as something you liked, so it must concern you.
I
to
like
some
what the
degree.
president is doing and has done as far as bringing jobs back, as far as some of the trade agencies done. But for more information, you should contact them.
But you don't think you should be an
You're
informed
wasting your
voter?
time. I just told you should contact them. Don't you understand? It's hard to understand.
No, it's actually coming through clearer than ever.
On. If you want to continue, you need to move on because you're asking the wrong person.
So you're a very strong advocate of the president, and you powerfully say on your program people should vote for him, but you seem unable to articulate what he's actually done.
About those things you just asked, I have no idea. I'm not even concerned.
Okay. How would you tackle climate change, Jesse?
No such thing.
Okay. And elaborate on that.
It's a made-up lie by the liberal Democrats in order to get more money and power and control the people. Climate change is fake.
You know, in some countries, climate change is much less politicized. In other words, you might have scientists who are conservative and scientists who are liberal, and they all agree about it. Why do you think in other countries, even the conservative scientists accept the science on climate?
I have no idea, but in America, climate change is fake.
In America,
maybe in those, I don't know for sure, but maybe in those other countries, they're controlling the people because the people are weak-minded and they allow themselves to be controlled by lies.
Interesting.
But
that's happening. That's happening in other countries.
Well, maybe I don't know for sure what's going on in other countries, but in my country, climate change is fake.
Are you you're of course in coastal California, which is a place that, if the sea level continues to rise, could have flooding problems. We've also seen a number of prominent conservatives abandon California for more politically conservative parts of the country. Is that something you're thinking about?
About abandoning California?
Yeah, because it's so liberal.
Not at this time. At one time, for the first time in I've been here since 1968.
Yeah.
It did cross my mind, but I'm not ready to pack up and run at this time. I believe that that California will come back to become a conservative state because the Democrats have done a good job in screwing it up when it comes to illegal aliens, homelessness, now the lockdown from the so-called Chinese virus, the fires, the high taxes.
And even with all of that, Jesse, you still prefer it to other conservative parts of the country after decades. That's interesting.
Because I love California. I like where it used to be beautiful at one time.
Yep.
I like the opportunities in California, and just an amazing state. We just need to get the Democrats out and replace it with conservative Republicans.
Right. And you think you'll like it even more if Republicans take over California?
If they're conservatives and not rhinos, I believe that we can put it back to a normal state of being prior to the Democrats completely taking over.
What's something really specific in terms of the law that you'd like to see California do differently? It could be anything. It could be on, guns. It could be on economic policy. Like, what would you like to see changed in California from a legal standpoint?
Well, number one, I would like to see the borders closed, shut down completely so the illegals cannot come in. I would like to see laws that says we will not and cannot and shall not pay for so-called health care for illegal aliens or anyone who is unwilling to work for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see lower taxes for home buyers, land buyers, and people like that. The restriction as far as the Second Amendment,
Right.
They need to take their hands off our Second Amendment. We have the right to buy bullets, to own whatever gun we want, and has as many as we want. I would change some of those rules.
We're going to go to a break on the podcast, but my full conversation with Jessie Lee Peterson will, of course, be published to our YouTube channel in full. No edits, Jessie. You know we never edit anything you say. Listen, you mentioned you want to shut down the border. I'm curious. A lot of Americans in California, Arizona, Texas, they go to Mexico for medical care because they can't afford it here in the United States. Do you want to shut that down as well? Do you want to stop Americans from going to Mexico for medical care?
I don't want to stop them from going. They can go anywhere they want to for it, but I don't want us to have to pay for illegal alien health care in our country. And we should, in our state or in our country, period.
Okay.
But we definitely should not be a sanctuary state or city. I would definitely change that. But you can be free. You're American. You can go wherever you want to get health care. That's up to you.
Should Americans be more free than citizens of other countries?
America should be, we are the light of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and we absolutely should be free. And it's up to the other folks in their country to determine how much freedom they want.
But if other countries determine that their citizens should be as free as Americans should be, you have no problem with that, right?
If that's what they want, they can do whatever they want in their country. I'm only concerned about my country.
Speaking of our country, Jessie, when we watch your program and we hear these impassioned critiques of the things that are going wrong in the United States that you issue, one can't help but wonder, what country has it right? When you look around the world, Jessie, because you have so many, criticisms of the United States, what country do you see that is getting it right on certain issues that you think we should emulate?
We shouldn't emulate any of those countries. They are to emulate us.
Okay.
Because we're the best and the greatest country on this side of heaven.
Yeah.
We are the example of what other countries should become.
But let me see if I can rephrase it. Okay.
Even though the Democrats have screwed it up a lot, the president is making it great again.
Right.
But we are the example for the rest of the world.
Okay. So let me see if I can frame it in a different way. You point to a lot of things that you say Democrats have done very poorly. And you said that this includes in California, but also around the country. What examples would you point to say to the Democrats, here's how you should do it? Is there a state that's doing it right? Is there a country that isn't? I'm not saying a country's better than us, but for example, like, is Saudi Arabia getting it right on capital punishment in your mind? Or is North Korea getting it right when it comes to how to control the media? Do you see anything you like there?
The first thing that comes to mind that the Democrats has clearly done to our country is to divide the races in order to divide and conquer. And that is, they have lied and said that there is such thing as police brutality, racism, white supremacists.
Okay.
All the stupid ism that they've come up with. Those are lies. And the ism doesn't exist in our country, but they have managed to use those words in order to divide and conquer.
Beautiful.
I would love to get rid of those words and let the people know that there's no ism. It's either right or wrong, good or evil. You're either on the side of evil or you're on the side of good, and so that we can become one nation under God again. I would unite the country in that way. The first thing I would do.
I love it. So when you say you want to get rid of those words,
Yes.
would you ban the words? Would you outlaw the teaching of those words in school? Like schools can't use the word racism? How do you do that?
I definitely wouldn't ban the word.
Did you say,
but I
I'm
would
sorry,
not
you said
allow,
you would or you would not? You would or you
I
would
would
not?
not ban the
Okay.
word. You can't ban the word.
Got it.
But I would not allow the schools to teach that to the children and brainwash them.
Got it.
In order to do what we see that they have done to the young folks already.
Got it. So school curriculum could not include the word racism.
That's right, because it doesn't exist.
Right.
It's a brainwashing technique to use to divide. We are Americans. We are America. We are one nation under God.
Yeah.
And those words tend to divide us.
Would you ban? And so you don't want any isms taught in school?
No racism, no sexism, no homophobicism, no
Homophobic
Allah-u-Abba-ism, no white supremacism, and no anti-Semitism. No ism. It's either right or wrong, good or evil.
Now, I'm sure you also then would say that when Republicans use the isms socialism and communism, that's also divisive, right? And wrong.
No, because there is socialism. Look at the Democratic Party.
Oh.
Look at the mindset of most black people. They are socialists in their mind, in that they rely on the government to do for them and tell them when and where and how, rather than doing for themselves. As a matter of fact, that's what the Democrats want to do by way of the government, is to control the people by giving them things and thinking for them and providing, rather than providing the folks providing for themselves.
Who is a prominent Democrat who's a socialist?
Communism exists.
Who is a prominent Democrat that's a communist?
Wow, that's a good one. You know those 4 radical women that who are those stupid women? The one from New York and Detroit. What? Yeah, the Squad. Those are perfect example of communism. I can't think of the name. They're so stupid.
Sure. So they
Cortez, I believe, from New York. That's a nutcase. I don't even understand why anyone would even listen to her.
Right.
Let's more vote for her. But you have the other one out of what? Yeah, Ilhan Omar and another one.
And what communist communist policy have they advocated for?
They want to take care of the people.
They want to take care of the people.
Think for the people. They want to give free health care, free everything for the folks. Not all are they evil. It's pure communism.
Jesse, do you know what communism is?
Yes.
What is it?
The people, when someone else wants to control you, it's about controlling other people.
Communism is controlling other people. That's interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting. Okay. You've really said a lot here, and you know, I'm doing the best I can to sort of keep up with all of it. Tell me, when you look at Donald Trump, you've told us all of the things that you think he's done great, except then you said you don't really care about those things like economics and trade and all of that stuff.
I care about them, but that's not my thing. I don't pay a lot of attention to that.
Right. So here's my question. Are you able to identify anything you don't like that Donald Trump has done?
I don't know how much I agree with him on letting the inmates out of the prisons.
Which inmates are those? Which inmates are those? Which inmates are those?
You know how they let a lot of the prisons out by saying that they're there because they sold pot or their crime wasn't bad enough to keep them in prison. Some kind of dumb stuff like that. I don't know how much I support that because I haven't had time to really look into that. I just feel that if you do the crime, you should do the time, and it doesn't matter what color you are.
Right.
I'm in total support of that.
And did you?
And one other that might make you feel good on the inside. I don't like the fact that right now there's a position open on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yes.
I don't like the fact that he is nominating a woman just because it's a woman.
Really?
In America, it should be the best qualified person, and not even say, "Hey, I'm gonna put a woman there, or I'm gonna put a man there, I'm gonna put a black there, I'm gonna put a homosexual there, or anything like that." but I'm gonna look and find the best person that's qualified,
Right.
and that's the person I'm gonna put in that position. That is the American way.
So it's sort of identity politics that Trump is playing in a sense.
On this part, I don't like that. No.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Certainly,
into the hands of the Democrats. When you do that, and you and I know that the Democratic Party is an evil party. It has no godly values at all.
You know what's weird about that, Jesse? You're a man of faith, right? And you're a Christian counselor, and all of this stuff.
We also have an entrepreneur academy where we're teaching young men how to start their own businesses, or if they already started, we help them enhance the business. I started a credit union where we loan them the money and they get back with small interest. We've been around for 30 years now. Bond, the Brotherhood's organization of a new destiny.
Right,
and
but my question,
the family by rebuilding the man, because most males today are beta males.
Right.
Men, so we're showing them how to overcome being a beta male.
Okay, so I was trying to keep this from being a cartoonish farce, but it's not clear that that's possible. But to get back to the sort of religious question that you brought up, when I look at Donald Trump and Joe Biden, this is not looking at politics. This is just looking at religion. Like if I were a voter who cared about religion, I look at Biden. He's been a devout Catholic his entire life. He's gone to church since he was a kid. He knows scripture. He understands Catholic teachings. And then I look at Trump, and Trump never went to church until he decided to run for president. Never read a Bible, doesn't even know how to hold the Bible. If you ask me which is the religious president, who's the Christian, the candidate, not president, isn't it obviously Joe Biden?
No.
It's not.
Joe Biden, I mean, Satan could quote the scripture for you. Satan could go to a Catholic church.
Okay.
Satan can hold up the Bible, and there is no particular way of holding the Bible. That's a dumb idea.
Wow.
You can hold the Bible wherever you want to hold the Bible.
Okay.
And that's so dumb, I can't even believe that people even mention that.
Wow.
But Joe Biden is a very weak beta male, and it's just because he went to a Catholic. Look at the Pope. The Pope is 10. The Pope wear a beautiful gown.
Oh, the Pope.
And he goes out and pretend he want to greet the people. But if you touch his hand, he gonna slap it away. And he knows the Bible. He went to Catholic school and Catholic church.
Right.
Just because you go to church or read the Bible doesn't it doesn't mean that you're a Christian.
Oh,
that's interesting. Christianity better than Joe Biden could ever think of what a Christian is. Joe Biden doesn't even know he's in America right now.
Which Christian value do you think Donald Trump most strongly embodies?
Perfect love.
For who?
All people.
Wow. That's incredible, Jesse.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Are you I'm getting the sense that you're not really that into Catholicism. Is that accurate?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I know a bit more about it now than I did while growing up, because that wasn't in my area where I grew up.
Yeah.
But I'm learning that it's a waste of time and that the Pope is ticked.
Sorry, the Pope, what was that word? The Pope is what?
Ticked. He's upset.
Oh, he's ticked.
A beta.
Okay.
He's a beta.
Just to kind of circle back around, can you remind the audience, when you talk about being a beta male and being an alpha male, what are we talking about here?
There are males, most men today.
Yeah.
Male. They think and act like a woman. They are emotional. They are mentally off. They have no logic. And that's a beta male. They go along with homosexuality.
Hold on, whoa, Jesse, we got it. That's a lot.
LGBTQ.
That's a lot. Hold on.
They agree with everything that's wrong. Abortion, they think and act just like a woman. A beta male does. But a non-beta male doesn't, because he's a logical thinking. He guides you in the right way to go instead of going along with wrongdoing.
So you said that one of the ways in which a beta male is like a woman is that a woman has mental problems. So you're saying that all women and some beta males, they have mental problems? Is that what you said?
All women who have not grown up close to their fathers have an illogical mindset.
Wow.
They're up and down in the way they think and feel, and they're controlled by the darkness of their imagination. Likewise, males who have not overcome their mothers and returned to their fathers, they have illogical mindsets just like their mother and just like women.
So it's almost like you've almost taken a bit of a Freudian approach and like perverted it into sort of like your Christian view of that. Is that, am I sort of onto the ideology here?
Well, I have not perverted it. Even God said that we must be born again.
Yeah.
You are born of the woman, and anyone who is born of the woman is dying. But those who are born of the Spirit of God are living. And so I didn't make that up. God did that. You have to call him fraudulent or whatever.
Is this the type of stuff you talk about in these Christian counseling sessions with young men?
You can hear that on my radio show if you go to jessieleepeterson.com or rebuildingtheman.com.
Right.
Because I get calls about these issues from around the world.
Yeah.
And the same thing is happening in that their mothers have turned them away from their fathers by playing victim and pretending that the father was a bad guy. She was just a humble little woman, have nothing to do with it. She's a victim, turning the children away from their fathers, recreating them in her image. And she caused the children to become angry. And once you become angry, you become just like the person that you're angry at. That's why in today's America, the men are acting just like the women because the fathers are not protecting them from the mothers.
You said, unfortunately, at this point, most men are beta. What percentage of all American men right now, give me the numbers, what percentage are alpha, what percentage are beta?
That's a really good question. I don't know the percentage. I do know that an abnormal amount of men today are beta males.
Yeah.
Especially millennials and the Zs, and some of the older generation as well. But most millennial men and Zs are beta males because there has been an attack among boys and men for the last 60 to 70 years. And the whole idea is to destroy the image of the male and usher in the image of the woman, which is not good for family and not good for a country.
But
it's not good for the woman. It's not good for the woman because the women are not created to lead. They are created to follow. Women don't have love. They receive love from the man who received it from God. There's God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. That's the order. But the mothers tend to reverse that order and put the woman over the man, and that would never work.
That's a little nebulous to me. But so would you ballpark it? Are we talking 10% alpha, 20% alpha? What ballpark it?
I absolutely don't know the amount, but I am the percentage.
Yeah.
But I'm stunned as how many men are like women nowadays. I mean, I literally counsel with men and women across the world. And on my show, I get tons of calls from men and women around the world.
Right.
And the same thing is happening. Women are destroying, and they're starting in the home, and then in the schools, and the government, and all over the place.
That's interesting. I'm trying to imagine what kind of person would say, I'm struggling with something. Let me call Jessie Lee Peterson for help. I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of such an individual. It's hard to imagine.
Any person that has examined him or herself, and they know something is wrong, and they hear me talking about it, they will call me to get a better understanding of how to overcome it. But most people are not seekers. They are just out in the world, going along with whatever they hear or see. They have no sense to think for themselves. So it's just a few, because most people are taking the wide road that leads to destruction. For example, you have men who are with women, and the women are controlling them.
Right.
Those are the type of men that are not seeking to overcome and return to the
In your mind, the man should always control the woman, right?
He should always be the head of the woman. Absolutely. Wow. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Jessie, listen, you really said it all. I do want to just ask about one more thing. Our audience may or may not know, you're in your 70s. Are you drinking pomegranate? What are you doing in order to keep that glow?
I don't have any anger in my heart. I only have love, which comes from God. And when you don't have anger, you're not stressed out. You're not worried. You're not having suicidal thought. You're not comparing yourself to others. You're not trying to be like anyone else. You are yourself. you're in a perfect, peaceful place within yourself, so you're not comparing yourself to anyone. When you don't have anger, that's why you have to overcome anger if you want perfect peace.
What? So it's not like you've switched to turkey bacon, or you eat a lot of fruit, or have a kind of some special skin. It's just you're just not an angry guy.
No, I don't have anger, so I'm not under stress.
And you don't attribute any of it to diet.
No, I do work out. I exercise. I eat in moderation now, but I do it because I have a self-control now. I don't have to give it to all that stuff, and plus I don't have anger, so I'm not trying to fulfill my an ego.
Right.
Most people who are out of control in the way they eat, have sex, use pot, and drink, they have an ego problem. They have an anger problem. That's why we show people how to overcome that anger, so they can have peace within themselves. Then they would do all things in moderation.
Wow. And are you off sex altogether now?
I am.
You are.
Because I'm not only because I'm not married. If I was married, I would not be off sex.
Wow, that's a revelation. I think the audience will find compelling. That's very, very interesting. And you think
you're not married, right?
I am not married.
Are you off sex, or you having sex out of wedlock?
I'm very much on sex.
You having sex out of wedlock?
I don't even know the term. The term wedlock to me is not a term that's part of my life. Wedlock sounds locked. It sounds bad.
You're not married, right?
I'm not married.
So you're having sex out of wedlock?
I just don't know what wedlock is.
That's amazing. You never heard that word.
Yeah, it's just a weird word. It sounds like a moralizing word.
It means that anyone who is not married and they're having sex out of wedlock, it's not good, because the woman who is having sex out of wedlock is a slut, and the man who's having sex out of wedlock is a slut maker. And that's not good for either one.
Wow.
Amazing.
That is something. We're gonna
Isn't that amazing?
We're gonna have to go back to the drawing board on that, because that
would you ever marry a slut?
You know that we discussed that word on your show. It's not a term I use, so it's hard for me to engage with it seriously.
Right, but I use it. Any woman that's having sex out of wedlock is a slut. Would you marry a slut?
I reject the premise.
What do you mean?
I reject the premise of the question.
What do you mean?
Come on, Jesse.
I don't understand what you mean.
Yeah, and I don't understand what you mean.
So you rejected the fact that a female who's having sex out of wedlock is a slut?
I reject the entire framing of this issue.
What do you mean?
Come on.
Why are you rejecting the truth?
Your truth is nonsense.
But that makes you sound like a beta male. I don't want to use beta male on you today.
You've used it on me so many times, I think I could take it once more.
Do you believe that any man who has sex out of wedlock is a slut maker?
No, I don't. Those are not terms I use.
Which is most important to you? Values or education?
I don't believe that it's an either or. I don't see those as two sides of the same seesaw, so to speak.
So you don't believe there's a difference between moral values and education?
They're two different things.
In what way?
Moral values are a totally different thing than education. You're acting like it's one or the other.
But which one do you prefer, moral values or education?
It's just not a choice like that. It's not a choice. Well,
it should be, because people who are educated have no values.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Jesse, you've really said it all. We've been speaking with Jessie Lee Peterson, now the host not only of the Jessie Lee Peterson Show, also host of The Fallen State, a Christian counselor. Insurance will reimburse, he told us, although I want to have a call with someone in California to confirm that. Jesse, it's always fascinating speaking with you.
It's always amazing being on with you. I got to bring you back onto my show.
Yes.
And I want all people to understand that they must be born again. They got to overcome mama and return to the Father.
Right.
Even God said that there will come a time when I will return the children to the Father, meaning adult and young children, and the fathers to the children. Because of that spiritual order of God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. Nothing else is going to work but that order. And any male that's following a woman, he's gonna suffer. It's never gonna work out.
Wow.
Because anytime you listen to a woman, you will suffer.
Okay, we're going to get that all evaluated, translated, and notated so that we can do some deeper thinking about it. But Jesse, I really do appreciate your time today.
I appreciate you having me on, David, and I will send Joel over for more clarity. All right.
Okay, Joel. I don't know who that is, but we'll wait for him.
Okay. So this is what happens when you don't know anything. You don't talk about policy. And the only thing you do on the show is just show up and don't have any time or any interest in talking about anything. You just try to gish gallop and troll your way through everything. And it's nuts. It's nonsense. And it's something that this is how people move way past us. It's because they already know the 20 to 25 issues and they off the market. They show up the once every 2 years and that's it. They're done. It's crazy. Mike.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that anybody's calling him for any sort of consultancy in terms of mentorship or counseling or political, strategy. Doesn't know the issues, hasn't read any policies, very rudimentary in his way of thinking. I'm not sure how he earns a living, but in regards to this whole entire podcast, it's hard to understand where he really stands and who he really stands with, because he calls people rhinos, which is interesting because Trump is a rhino himself, but he backs up Trump. It's just really strange, some of the ways that he takes, and judging by the look on his face and his condition of his eyes, I would say he definitely has quite a few issues going with himself.
All right, before we go forward, shout out to 3 Super Chat, DJ Nav. Thank you for the follow Super Chat. This is better than game. Yes, very better than game. Sweet Melody Speaks. Thank you for the $4.99 Super Chat. Like the stream. Thank you so much for that. And Yusuf Familiar, this man has Alzheimer's. No, he does not. This guy has been acting like this since the 70s. So when people come around with all these talking points, that debate, oh, man, I would give anything to put both of these two dudes in the same room. To have that debate, oh, man, too much.
Now, you would need some kind of the U.S. military, with a parallel, demarcation, demilitarized zone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because, Renaissance man. What have we seen so far? So,
I'm still surprised David was able to maintain his composure without just dying out laughing. He's obviously very good at being listening, sarcastic. Because I don't know if Jesse really caught that drift the entire interview. Like Mike said, I think he's definitely having some sort of issues going on if you look at him. I mean, the guy blamed the fires in California on Democrats. He's from Alabama, so he has Southern roots, so he can go back if he was interested in living in some conservative place. It's just he's obviously there to spin a narrative, but the sad part is that's why Black conservatives are not taken seriously in the Black community. That entire interview is literally the embodiment of it.
all right, to go.
First of all, Pac-Man, he was actually kind of trolling. He was actually kind of trolling JLP. He was trolling him a little bit. As he was trolling him, he trolled him. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and it was actually quite entertaining. But to look at JLP and see what he was really pushing is strictly that culture war piece. He's been on that for a lot of years. He is highly skewed, and he is buying into a lot of this. He's being paid for it, there's no doubt. But his game is out there. And these guys are exposing themselves. They're not doing themselves a good service out here. So I say keep them out here, keep them getting torn out in the frame on these panels. But like I said, these guys are doing themselves a disservice at this stage. And it's a good thing. It's good that we're seeing that. Anyway.
All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to, before we go to the other one, there's another interview that I found that is on the same level, but probably better, but shorter than the other interviews. So let me hold on a second. Let me go over here. Because he gets away with it because he's a religious guy, and that's the kind of stuff that I don't like about religious people. There is no quality control. Anybody can just say that they're religious and they can get away with it, man. And it really gets on my nerves, bro. Really gets on my nerves.
I know. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gets away with saying I'm a pastor and they let him ramble on.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So this is the second video. It's only 5 minutes long, but it's going to feel like it's 45 minutes long. So we're going to play this.
In reality, I think we all know in reality there's no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobia, Islamophobia, deadbeatism, or anti-Semitism. It's all about good or evil, right or wrong. We do know that part, right?
We do?
Yeah.
Well, listen, as far as I know, we may not even exist. This could all just be a dream. Right? I mean, how do we know, Jesse, that we're even here?
That's a good point.
Maybe this is just a dream. Maybe it's not even your dream or my dream. It could be just some other random person.
Is there such a thing as white privilege?
Yeah, I mean, this guy's been around for a while, man. Yeah, but we're going to move past that so that way we can.
I am Jessie Lee Peterson. Welcome to the second hour of the show today. Thank you for being with me. I have with me Sam Cedar.
Wow.
And Sam Cedar is a comedian, actor, film director, TV producer, and radio host of the Majority Report. And I did a lot of studying on Sam last night, so it's very interesting. I'm glad that he's here. Sam, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. I want to talk to you about so many issues, politics, climate change, and all of what's happening in this great country. But I need to learn a little bit more about you. Are you a Christian?
No, I'm a Jewish person.
Oh, you're Jewish. And so what does that mean?
Well, are you asking? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
What does that mean? I mean, are you a conservative Jew or a liberal Jew?
Well,
I'm trying to figure you out a little bit more because I couldn't really.
Well, the nomenclature more for Jews in terms of like how we relate to the religion is Reform, Conservative.
Amazing. And do you tend to vote for the Democratic candidate?
I mean, it depends. In New York State, we have what is known as fusion voting. So I will often vote for the Working Families Party line. Sometimes that's the same, the Democrat. But
how about the Great White Hope? Did you vote for him?
The Great White Hope?
Yes.
Andrew Cuomo? Who are you referring to?
Donald Trump. The Great White Hope.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so. You sound like them on the left, but let me ask you. So
no, I am on the left. I am them.
Really, a socialist Jews?
Well, I would be a
beta. You're a beta.
I know.
So, Sam, I don't quite understand. Do you believe in God or not? I'm black and I'm slow, so forgive me. Do you believe in God?
Well, what do you mean by God?
Do you believe in God?
Well, no, I heard you, but I mean, what do you mean by God? I mean, I think my conception of God might be different than yours.
And I'll ask you that after you answer the question, do you believe in God?
Well, maybe, based upon your definition of God.
You're not sure if you believe in God or not?
Well, I'm not sure if you and I share the same definition of God.
So let me ask, are black people suffering due to the destruction of the family and the lack of morality or racism?
Well, frankly, I don't know that those are mutually exclusive.
Which are they suffering from?
So, Jesse, if I understand your point, and I'm almost totally sure I don't,
Well, what I'm saying,
I'm not following.
what I'm saying is because black people and now the illegal aliens and Mexicans are allowed to get into these universities, especially blacks, based on color and not qualification. Let me just finish the question for you. It's based on color and not qualification. Most black people are not qualified to get into the universities and jobs and things because they are not earned their way. White people are earning their way, but their kids and others are pushed to the side and not allowed to get in because they're white to let blacks in. If that was not happening, would white people have to find other ways to get into universities and jobs?
Well, aside from not agreeing with the premise of what you're saying, even if I did, what you're saying is ludicrous.
Amazing. Sam, will you come again? We're out of time. Will you come again?
I certainly would. This was really fun.
I'd like to talk to you longer and take some calls. Everybody and their mama want to talk to you.
Yes, well, that would be great. I would love to talk to them and their mothers.
Amazing.
Thank you.
This person has a national radio program. And the only thing he does on this national radio program is panders to the idea that black people are inferior by playing Step and Fetch It on the radio. Period. And it's crazy that we would allow this type of thing in the country. It's nuts. I don't understand this. And this is what happens when you refuse to talk about policy. You have to fill all this random time with other things. And it's ridiculous. And this dude's rolling around in money. Like, he has foundations that raise millions of dollars a year. And it's crazy how this dude gets away with this because he doesn't want the environment to change. He's not going to depend or even focus on policy. It's crazy, Mike.
Yeah, it's interesting. He also runs a credit union. It's supposed to be very successful. So I don't know how he does it, but based on that interview, and Sam Cedar is a very, very popular podcaster. So that goes with saying that I don't know how Jessie Lee Peterson interacts with people offline, but based on his online interaction, I don't see where the conversation goes because it's not really focused on anything that's tangible at all. Asking the guy whether or not he believes in God when he said he's Jewish, it's really strange that he's taking these sort of positions. I mean, on mainstream media, he would have been booted off at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. And him, just like Candace Owens, they pulled them out. People had them on their show, and then they say something ridiculous like, oh, well, it's just their opinion. I'm like, other countries wouldn't even allow this kind of stuff to happen. Renaissance man.
Yeah. Like I said, Jesse's all time in my book. I don't quite see anyone out there who quite goes to the extremes and says the crazy stuff that he does. Like I said, this is why conservatism is not taken seriously, and you clearly know who he is pandering to. And the crazy thing is, there are people who literally pay this guy to go up and say this stuff.
Yeah, you go.
I'm going to make this very simple. JLP, he gets money from that far right to speak a lot of what he does. He knows better, but this is what he does. He sounds crazy. He sounds crazy by the minute, but it pays the bills that he wants to get paid. He's a paid chill in that regard, and he's there to troll the left. That's what he does. That's his position. That's the game these guys are playing. You will never get him into a policy argument. Never will happen. Why? Because he's not that type of thing. That's what's going on.
Yeah, it's just that if your only idea is being a part of an actual structure, is to deliberately misunderstand the structure that you're a part of, but somehow support everything that happened within it. And when they ask basic questions about it, you can just skip over that. And somehow, like somebody brought up earlier, how would you let this person be a part of your party? I would not. I would pay this dude to like, look, you can't say that you're part of the party. Call yourself a Democrat. Please. You can't represent us on any shape, form, or fashion. But the actual people who pay him to do this stuff, this level of method actor of not being interested in society, but only pushing some certain type of narrative, it's crazy. So we're going to go to the main event here, what you all came to see. And this is how you actually are supposed to handle people who doesn't want to talk about policy, but want to come specifically on to talk about political issues. So without further ado, we're going to play this video. This is Indisputable with Dr. Rashard Ritchie. This is what happens when you have a PhD. You're supposed to be concentrated on policy, not cultural issues and nonsense like that. And this guy right here has a very good channel, and I suggest you subscribe to it. But we're going to see exactly how you're supposed to handle these type of guys who don't bring anything to the table. Because you can have a show about discussions without inviting people on your show who just dare to disrupt the conversation and bring nothing of value to your conversation. So we're going to go over this. 17 minutes. We're going to play it here.
Welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, I have a conservative radio talk personality, TV host, extreme conservative, and he's proud of it. Pastor Jessie Lee Peterson, founder and president of Bond, B-O-N-D, and host of JLP Show and The Fallen State. Pastor Peterson, good day. Welcome to Indisputable.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Sir, you all have a celebration coming up next month. Are you not the founder of White History Month, I think, which starts in July?
Yeah, we're going to be celebrating our 4th year of White History Month in July. And the reason that we started it in July is because if you notice, July just feels white.
Yeah.
You know, it's summertime, vacation time, relaxing time, reflecting time, and appreciating the greatest country on this side of heaven.
Gotcha.
And so we are recognizing that and showing our appreciation for it.
I think it's important for people to know you're not a comedian. What you're saying, right? What you're saying, this is actually you. You do this. You're the founder of White History Month.
Yes.
You've also been very critical of Juneteenth. You have called it a fake holiday, but you want to make sure that everyone supports White History Month.
Absolutely.
I do want to have a policy discussion with you about the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act. I'm going to attempt to have that policy discussion with you. Do you agree?
Okay, before we go forward, you have to keep in mind all the things that's been said in this space as regarding to this issue. It's no shocker that this stuff is going to come out of this dude's mouth, and you're going to hear the same stuff from some levels of people within this space. This is why I'm playing this, so that way you can see what happens when you platform idiots and what happens when you have to remove them from the conversation because they're not here to actually have the conversation. So we're going to go forward.
Agree or disagree with the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act?
I totally disagree because, as we all know, George Floyd was a black, unemployed drug addict with a criminal record. And I just let's first of all, let's clear something up, sir. You really should be ashamed of yourself. You call yourself a Christian pastor. George Floyd is dead. It's his fault. He's dead because a cop killed him. No, he's dead because he was a drug addict. My question to you, and that's adverse to the evidence, by the way, what you just said. My question to you was about policy. So let me ask you, what in the policy of the George Floyd Policing Act do you disagree with? The whole idea. Which part of the policy, Jessie? Blaming the cops and no responsibility for the blacks. I'm asking you, what part of the policy is written? You can find it at congress.gov.
What part of the policy, sir, do you disagree with? This is a simple question.
I disagree with the whole idea of a
You haven't read the policy. You haven't even read the damn policy. Come
I
on,
don't
Jesse.
need to read it. I don't need to read
You
it
don't
to know
need
the
to read
truth,
it.
because what I've noticed is that black people today, due to their lack of love, their lack of believing in God, they love evil more than they love good,
So
right?
that's the reason
And
why
so-
you don't read.
And so
That's the reason why you don't read.
right, because we're written by no good black people, and why should I waste my time knowing what they're about? Black folks today, not all, but most, have no sense of direction. They're blaming everybody but themselves, and until they take responsibility for their own lives, they are not going to get better. The
Now,
real
do you
truth
blame-
is
let me ask you,
George
sir,
Floyd is dead
do you
because
blame-
of George Floyd and no one else.
That's a ridiculous point. But do you blame yourself for not reading the policy, or you blame somebody else?
Why should I read the policy when I already know the people?
You don't even know what's in the policy, do you?
I don't need to know. Don't want to know. I know the people who are writing it. They're no good.
Okay, let's talk about Black Lives Matter. This is probably going to end up being an utter waste of my time having you on the show. What are your thoughts about
You
Black
don't know
Lives
that.
Matter?
You may learn something.
We'll see, preacher. What is it about Black Lives Matter that you disagree with fundamentally?
Black Lives Matter was founded by a bunch of fat, black, radical lesbians,
Okay.
and who
All right,
hate God,
get this clown off my show. I appreciate you.
who
Thank you.
hate God, who hate the nuclear family.
Yeah. Listen, for those of you who wanted me to continue to engage that clown on this show, I'm sorry, I just couldn't do it. I'm only a human being. So please forgive me, okay? All right. Here's what we'll do for the rest of the show. I will read some comments. And I know some of you will say, oh, Rashad, that was just so rude. And yeah, it was. I couldn't take any more of that foolishness. He's not going to make a debate in good faith. Even if you oppose whatever I believe on the most extreme policy side, at least you have a policy argument. I can engage in a good faith debate about ideas. But if you want to utilize this platform to bash gay people, to bash black people, to bash communities that are disenfranchised, if that's all you want to do, then no, you won't do that here. And I'm sure all of his cronies, once he puts this on his social media feed, they will try to come after me. I want all the smoke. I'm good with every bit of it. All right. Okay, let's read some of the comments. We got some of the comments. Let's do it that way. D. Pacman debated him a few times. He has no facts to back him up, says crazy stuff. If I was a Republican, I would be embarrassed. Yeah, but, they don't call him out. He's kind of like Candace Owens, just his version of it. But he's even more extreme when you really think about it. He's the OG of that, whatever it is. He's much more extreme than anyone else. Okay. This guy has a point. The guy with the glasses, not the flaming racist bigot. All right, that was from Franco. Lauren McRae says, this embodies why we must continue to push for easy access to mental health services. Listen, I damn near fell on my chair on that one. That was funny. Lauren McRae, thank you for that. KR Williams 3876 says, thank you, Dr. Ritchie.
Yeah, man, but this is where we at, folks. It's just like you can't have a conversation with people who deliberately don't want to have a discussion. Imagine the panels that you've seen in the manosphere, where people claim that they care about black people in the future, and they invite up most of these people who haven't read anything, who don't know anything, who don't care about anything. And the first thing that they do is have their hands out, but what did they do for me? Well, why should I get involved? Because the people on the other side are organizing to destroy any type of semblance of fairness in society. And then, people will turn around and say, well, you shouldn't expect fairness. I'm like, no, I should expect that. The government has minimum levels of operation that I should expect as a person. It's crazy. And this is why most other cultures, they don't allow these people to have a voice or a foothold. If this was the Middle East, you can't go around trolling your own culture like that. There are very incredibly immediate consequences to being this type of person in society, man. So it's like when you don't want to talk about policy, you only want to try to fix the culture first. This is exactly what you run into, Mike.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point that you make about in the Middle East, because we did see a few years ago a man by the name of Jamal Khashoggi was dealt with in a way for going against the principles of the kingdom, whether it was through articles, trolling, or whatever it was, or criticism. But when you're heckling people and trolling and doing all these type of things, there are consequences for it in other places. In the United States, and especially the Black community, you're allowed to get away with things like this. You can claim to be a conservative, not read any policies, don't know the principles, and you can hide behind the First Amendment. It's amazing. Amazing, like he says. So this is one of those things. And Dr. Rashad, man, I tip my hat to him, man. As intelligent as he is, man, he only has so much patience. But people look at us in this space and they be like, how come you guys, don't want to, have an honest debate? Well, because the people that we're dealing with are not, operating in good faith. And that's pretty much how he operates. He doesn't operate in good faith. When he come out and say things like he said that got him booted off, that's what's supposed to happen in a debate on a panel.
Correct. Renaissance man.
Yeah. Talking points very similar to ones in this space. Everything from the hatred of BLM, the hatred of the LGBT community, bringing up George Floyd's past. I love how he emphasized that he was a Black drug addict, not just he was someone who was having a drug addiction problem, and then not even being someone who's a pastor, not even looking at that from a sympathetic standpoint, but that from a that person deserved to die standpoint. So just all around, this is where these people get their talking points from, and this is the type of craziness that you get from these people.
Yeah, Nicole.
The man actually said he does not read anything. He doesn't read. He doesn't need to. He said he doesn't read. These are the kind of people you're speaking about, debating with. No information, no policy, no anything. I mean, this guy doesn't even have he's supposed to be a pastor, doesn't even have a heart. I mean, he doesn't have I don't believe even a moral bone in him to sit here and make that kind of comment and call himself a pastor at the same time, the man of God. So he's incredulous at every level. He is there to push a certain narrative, and that is it. He doesn't care about it. He is he's sociopathic in that view, and that's where this guy is. So doesn't read. I just want you guys to said he doesn't read. He doesn't need to read. He doesn't read anything. I stress that because we encounter that here in this space quite a bit, and you see this going on in the in the larger media environment as well. It's not an accident. Okay.
So you have to understand that before we leave and have our final statements, that given everything that you just said today, I'm going to show you a comment from a less than known person here who has people in face taking them seriously. And you have to understand that if you're not talking policy, you're not on a side. You're on the side of status quo. That's what side that you're on, because there are only but 20 to 25 issues. And if you read the actual issues rather than just staking out a position, so that way you don't have to talk about issues and you do the trolling and the culture war thing, it's very clear what side you're on. You're on the side of status quo, and things not really changing at all. Renaissance man, you have something before we show the clip?
No, I just wanted to ask if you could play the video. It's a 2-minute video that I placed in the back chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One more video of the craziness of Jessie Lee Peterson.
Oh, really? Hold on. Comments. Oh, private chat. It's its own thing. Hold on a second. You sure? Your Black World? This is his stuff?
Yeah. Well, no. This is a clip of him. That's the only way I could find the actual clip of. But yeah, it's of Jesse. You'll see.
Okay, all right. Because this does sound JLP-ish. So let's see what this guy has to say. The founder of White History Month. So let's see what he has to say about slavery.
No, I've often said that thank God for slavery because, had not, then the blacks who were here would have been stuck in Africa. And you see how bad Africa, everybody and mama trying to get out of Africa and come to America. And so God has a way of looking out for folks, and he made it possible by way of slavery to get black folks into this country. But 100% American. Proud of it. I thank God that he saw fit for me to get here. Never mind that, we were sold. I mean, I guess my ancestors way young to win were sold by Arabs and blacks to white folks and got us here. The white man came and brought us to the greatest country in the world. The ride over was pretty tough. But, it's like riding on a crowded airplane. And when you're not in first class, it's a tough ride. But you're happy when you get to your destination. And so the ride was tough over here. The pain for freedom was tough, because in life, if you want to gain something, you got to lose something. No pain, no gain. So it was the pain was tough, all for the sake of freedom. So I thank God that he got me here, and to show my appreciation to the blacks who suffer as a result of coming here, and the Arabs and blacks who sold us to the white man for going there and getting us and bringing us here. I want to say thanks.
Yeah, this is what you get paid to do. Like a lot of people want to pay a guy to humiliate the actual people that they don't care about. This is how the actual conversation about critical race theory has turned into a conversation about denying racism and hiding behind children as if we are actually trying to teach kids how to hate, as if teaching any other historical topic has made people hate people. We heard about the actual beaches of Normandy. It didn't have anybody hating Germans. We heard about what happened on, when the Japanese came over and bombed the actual Pearl Harbor. We didn't go around. Well, actually, the government actually did go around doing stuff to Japanese people. But overall, kids learning about that experience didn't say anything about it or thought to hate the people about it. And it's just that these type of people get paid lots of money to actually do this stuff, and it's crazy. Mike?
Yeah, I never heard that. I haven't heard that clip before. That's my first time hearing about it. And I don't know when it was recorded, but man, that's really out there. That's really out there. I wonder if he may have dyslexia or some other form of impediment that prevents him from reading.
Nah,
because if you listen to multiple times in different sort of interviews, that's not the first time he's ever said that he hasn't read anything. And I'm wondering if he has an issue with reading things and seeing things backwards for what it is, because the things that actually matter, he doesn't actually read it, and the things that don't really matter, he doesn't really know it enough to really articulate. So that means he's not reading at all. And I find that to be maybe that might really be the issue for him.
No, I mean, I think he suffers from the ability of having fat ass pockets for doing this. I don't think he suffers from anything at all. I think he shows up to be deliberately ignorant when it comes to certain type of topics. And I don't think he really cares about what it is that happens. Like in other cultures, there's immediate and brutal consequences for displaying this type of ignorance to hurt a specific group of people. And this guy just gets away with this stuff. So What you still Renaissance man?
Yeah, no. Like I said, I've seen that clip a while back, and every time someone mentions Jessie Lee Peterson, that's what comes to mind. As far as there is no real low that this guy won't stoop to for some dollars and to pander to his audience. So,
yeah, you go.
Kind of reminds me back to the movie The Soldier Story, where you had this one Geechee who actually put on a monkey suit because the white guys want him to wear it, and wore a tail and called himself Moonshine, King of the Monkeys. They paid him some money and then had him go out there to do it because he wanted to, aggrandize himself to the white boys. And then when he came back to his black crew, they slit his throat. So and then he wondered why they did it. But anyway, that's how they used to treat guys like that back in the day. But that's what this guy is doing. This is Moonshine, King of the Monkeys. That's what you're dealing with.
Yeah. So the comment that I have on the screen here, it shows, and this comment actually came from a actual channel. Who let me scroll up here. That way you can know what channel it came from. So you can see that the actual comment was hearted on that channel. It came from this channel. So that way you can see it was hearted by the individual. And you go over the comments. Somebody asked me, what would I do if Trump lost? I said, keep trolling. Having right-leaning black men engage in the culture war is a bold new front that most aren't prepared for. So these people are not even here to be serious. They're here to actually troll and play the culture war. They're not here to talk about policies, because if it's clear, you would actually look at their channel and you see that they're not actually even talking about that. They're just talking about troll the left nonsense. So when I see your ass over in that chat, you won't be back over here, because you should not be that fucking stupid to not notice that you're being fucking made a fool of. So you have to understand that talking about policy is only like 20 to 25 things that is to be talked about when it comes to policy. It's not hard. It's very deliberate when you don't want to discuss those things. So, Mike B, any last words?
Nah, nothing for me. Thank you for having me on.
Renaissance man.
No, I think we broke it down pretty good. Like I said, it's pretty obvious what these people are here to do. And like I said, you still haven't gotten a legitimate, real response to any of this. And it just shows once again why conservatism, black Republicans are really not taken seriously in the black community.
But here's the thing. Before I go to the go, you can easily start talking about policy tomorrow. There's nothing wrong with reading the actual policy. It's up for everybody to see. This stuff isn't hidden. You can set up Google alerts and have it come to you. Any bill that's written, TV stations based on it. So to deliberately become this type of person within the space is something that's very deliberate. Very deliberate. Go. Any last words before we get up out of here?
No, great didactic breakdown, and I really appreciate you inviting me on, MOT. Thanks.
All right, cool. This is right here is the Jessie Lee Peterson breakdown. I think he is the godfather of the actual troll the left thing that's actually happening here today within YouTube, because a lot of people claim that they want to move people forward, but they don't even want to organize or concentrate on the issues. They want to either A, do the trolling thing from the right, which is actually not focused on policy, denying racism and blaming black people for their own issues, or even on the left, people are just trying to get the liberal woman in order before they actually go out there and try to organize on their own stead. Neither one of those things need to happen. The only thing you have to do is read the actual things that are going on, because the national issues are not any different than the local ones. Because it's either you're involved or you're not. And if you don't want to discuss these things, fine, show up every 2 years. Just like any other. But if other groups are moving past you and everybody is denying the actual fact that they need to get involved with things, we just can't take you seriously, bro. So I want to thank everybody for coming out on the Man of Tomorrow. Subscribe to the channel or like the video. You guys have a really nice night. Peace.